Well, good evening, everybody. See a few familiar faces here, like always. We're doing the presentation tonight. It's going to be on child safety, some internet safety items, cyberbullying. At the end, or in between here, since it's a small crowd, we'll be informal. We'll do questions. We're not going to be broadcast live tonight, but we are taping this like usual. We're not going to be using the handheld mics, so at the end, if you have questions or any questions, just if you ask them to me and I repeat them, it's just because we are taping this. We'll be on Channel 28 like usual. So my name is Craig Steffen, City of Lancaster Public Safety Office. I'm a crime prevention officer. My partner, Jim Winke, same here. And like I said, a lot of familiar faces here. And please, for neighbors that didn't make it tonight, we have more flyers and handouts back there. Feel free to take as many as you need for other people in your family or friends, relatives, neighbors, and go along with that. We're going to have a PowerPoint presentation, and then included in that will be about 4 videos in there, and then we'll go over some of the handouts that we went over, and we'll get going now. So, the presentation was developed and is distributed by the NYS DCJS Missing and Exploited Children Clearinghouse through the Operation Safe Child program. How many people here have kids? Yes. So many people do. You have kids, you have grandkids. This is very important, and we'll start going over it. Predators will use information obtained from children to gain trust and friendship. In this case, it was her mother's death, the girl up in the left-hand corner there. Unless you know someone in person, you really don't know who you are talking to on the Internet. The predator in this case portrayed himself as an 18-year-old, and that's the picture that he sent to this girl of an 18-year-old. Actually, he was older. It's been said that you can meet the person of your dreams online. You can also meet your worst nightmare. Casey Renee Woody was a typical 13-year-old girl. She was a good student, a member of the school band, liked going online. Casey met 18-year-old David Fagan in a Christian chat room for teens. She didn't doubt his identity because the picture posted in David's profile was of a brown-haired, blue-eyed teenage boy. What Casey didn't know was that David Fagan didn't really exist. She was really talking to a 47-year-old David Fuller. He had used a photo of a nephew in his profile. Fuller was an internet predator who had set his sights on Casey. She made the fatal mistake of sharing personal information with him. Fuller tracked Tracy from his home in San Diego, California, to a small town in Arkansas where she lived. These people will travel clear across the United States to do this. When Casey's brother returned home from a night on December 3rd, he could not find his sister and reported her missing 4 hours later. The next day, the police tracked Fuller to a storage unit he had rented. Just as they had arrived, a shot rang out. When the SWAT team entered the unit 3 hours later, they found Fuller dead from a gunshot wound to the head. Inside the van he had rented, they found Casey Woody. Her arms and legs had been chained to the floor of the van. She had been sexually assaulted and fatally shot. This is a tragic story, and we could all learn something from this tragedy. Predators will use information obtained from children to gain trust and friendship. When Casey told Fuller about witnessing her mother's death in a traffic accident, Fuller told Casey that he had an aunt that lived in Arkansas that had been in a traffic accident also, was in a coma and expected to die soon. Unless you know someone in person, you don't really know who they are on the Internet. Again, Fuller portrayed himself as an 18-year-old. Anyone is vulnerable. Casey's father was a police officer, and she lived in a small town. One of the things we'll go over is that they talk. If you walk by your child and they're on the Internet and you think they're talking to a friend, that's one thing. But if you walked by your front window and you saw your teenage daughter out front talking to a strange man who looked around 45 years old, you'd be out there in a second finding out what's going on. We just have the tendency, they're on the Internet, they must be talking to a friend. And that's something we have to get over and do a little bit more thorough investigation as far as who your child's actually talking to. Food for thought. For parents, you must decide your strategy. Some material may be unsettling, but this is unavoidable. Philosophy, install a sense of caution, not a sense of fear. And that's very important, but you do want to caution your children. The good does outweigh the bad, and ask questions after thought. How hard is it to target kids online? Casey made a fatal mistake. She gave out personal information on the Internet. Even though she didn't invite David Fuller to her home, he found her. Some children are careful about filling out profiles but can inadvertently post information that can reveal too much. Targeting Teresa shows just how easy it can be tracking someone online. On these, and if we run into technical difficulties, we'll just go free here for a while.
How hard is it to target kids online? Let's conduct an experiment and see. We'll start by going online and selecting a harmless chat room. How about one created specifically for youth, like this one, about music? Take a look at the list of people currently in the chat room. We'll pick one at random. How about Teresa01? Posing as a fellow chatter, we engage Teresa in a private conversation and ask her age. She shrewdly avoids giving us that information. Most online or internet service providers have user directories available to help their members identify others in the group with similar interests. Members can create and store profiles of themselves in the user directory for other members to view. While these directories can be useful, they can also make you vulnerable. We'll look for more information about Teresa by checking her member profile. We type her chat name and learn more. Good job, Teresa. She didn't list her age, location, gender, or post a picture of herself, but what does her name tell us? Is she male or female? If her brother's name is Billy Jr., what might her father's name be? If we click on the locate command, we can follow Teresa wherever she goes in cyberspace. We can also email or instant message her. After 2 minutes of searching, we have determined that Teresa is most likely a female teen. She likes basketball, music, and hanging out with friends. She has a little brother who most likely answers to Billy Jr. She has a valid email address and instant messenger account, and we have accurate addresses for both. Another place to look for information is newsgroup postings. Since we have a valid email address for Teresa, we can use it to search through these postings. Now I know how many messages Teresa has posted, when and to what site she posted them, and the text of each message. In this posting, she has posted several personal identifiers. Can you find them? They are her telephone number, a time of day when she will most likely be home, her mother or sister's name, and her email address. Within 8 minutes, we know that her first name is Teresa. She appears to be in her teens. Her interests are basketball, music, and hanging out with friends. She has a younger brother named Billy Jr. She has valid email and instant messenger accounts. She has a mom or sister named Sue. We have a good idea of what time of day we could find her at home, and we know her home telephone number. How useful is her telephone number? Even if we only had her area code, we could use it to quickly get an idea of her geographic location. However, since we have her entire telephone number, let's use it to perform a reverse lookup and see what else we can find out about Teresa. The search yielded the last name of the person Teresa's telephone number is registered to. Most likely Teresa's last name as well. For those of you wondering about your own telephone numbers right now, there's good news. Most services will allow you to change or eliminate your personal data from their directories if you find it there. But you have to find the services that list your information before you can request that it be removed. As for Teresa, we now have her last name. Let's see what information we can get searching with it. We'll need another directory. How about the white pages? With every additional piece of information, we can perform more searches. We'll enter her last name and start our next search. I bet we can find out where she lives now that we have her name. There she is. Laurel. I'm not familiar with that town. Let's see if we can find more information. I'll look it up on a map search. One click and I'm there, but I think I'd like a closer look. And what if I want to find out how to get there? No problem. I can easily get directions online that will tell me step by step how to get from where I am to where Teresa lives. Now, what about schools? Where does Teresa go to school? That should be pretty easy to narrow down. So let's go to an online search engine and put in the details we have found that will be most useful to us. Laurel School. Our search leads to local schools. We can read articles about events in which these schools have been involved. We have the street address for the schools, but most importantly, we can link to the school's websites. That will allow us to find even more detailed information about the school, such as class times, lunch schedules, and possibly pictures of students. It's been 20 minutes since we first identified Teresa in the chat room. Let's review what we've discovered about her in that short time. We know that she is a female teen. We know her full name is Teresa Doe. Her email address is teresa01@email. She likes basketball, music, and hanging out with friends. She has a brother named Billy. She collects or trades music. We know the full names of her mother, father, and brother. We know her home telephone number is 555-888-1212. We know she's probably home by 5:30 p.m. on weekdays. Her mom gets home from work by 5:30. She lives at 111 Liberty Road in Laurel, for which we were able to get specific directions. And finally, we know what schools are closest to her home. Hopefully, this will make you take a closer look at what you or your children are posting online.
Pretty amazing, huh? It's technology is great, and there's a lot of good stuff, but you can see how quickly people can find out information on you, but especially kids that are in these chat rooms doing this. So, the main thing is to monitor the kids, have the computer in your living room somewhere where you have access to it. You're constantly watching.
How hard is it to target kids online? Let's conduct an experiment and see. We'll start by going online and selecting a harmless chat room. How about one created specifically for youth, like this one about music? Take a look at the list of people currently in the chat room.
Technology is great, isn't it? No, but it's just, on the kids, you have a tendency to walk by and you figure they're talking to other teenage kids. But it can turn into something like this. We've all seen different shows on TV, different presentations on how quickly they can gain access to information like this. You just want to monitor them. A lot of the kids, they really don't understand that. They think a lot of it is private, like MySpace. They think they can get on there and only their friends can talk to them and nobody else. And then you wind up getting on and showing them how easily you can access all this information. So the technology is good, but it can be bad too. But the main thing is monitoring. So technologies, how do they get there? Desktop and laptop computers located at home, friends' homes, work, libraries, stores, schools, internet cafes, wireless connections, PDAs, BlackBerries, cell phones, internet cable games, i.e. The Xbox, PlayStation 2. I don't know if anybody... Ready to roll? No. Okay. I don't know if anybody was on watching the news today, but it came out talking about the video games. Actually, last night, talking about portals to porn. How some of the new Wii games that the parents are buying for their kids to play games on, they can actually gain access to pornography through these games. So, I mean, we're living in a very technical world. If you join my age group and you put your hand up and say you don't know what's going on with all this, but the kids, you hand your phone to your kid and they can program it like this or find stuff on the internet like that, it's that age. I mean, I've seen commercials recently where they've had 4-year-olds actually do this, and we're looking at it like, yeah, we can do that, but it might take a little while longer. As a parent, you might even want to take a computer class or get more, become more aware, talk to the other parents or whatever, or have somebody that is technical on the computer show you a few things on there. In this day and age, you can be doing everything right at home also, but then kids can go to a friend's house. They can log on somewhere else. They can go, on their phones if they have access on to Verizon or some network off their phones or through a Wii game. So there's just like it's been for years. You can only monitor when you're there, but try to monitor, look over their shoulders. There's slang that the kids will use. If you walk over and you see POS typed on the screen, that stands for parent over shoulder. That means that they saw you or heard you coming, and they're typing in real quick POS to a friend. They can't talk right now. They're going to have to get off. They're going to have to change the subject because you've got a parent looking over the shoulder. It's something that could be right in front of you and you really don't see it because you're walking by and they're on there, they're doing their homework, they're talking to a friend. It's just something like I said, with every good thing on the internet, there's bad stuff that goes along with it, and all I can say is monitor all the time with the computer in the main room. Unless you're a light sleeper, nothing stops your child from getting up in the middle of the night and going out there on the computer while you're sleeping, and you figure, okay, it's in a public place, a good area in your living room, and you're going to monitor it. But if they're getting on at night, if they're going to a friend's house to spend the night and getting on a computer or using a cell phone, to get on the internet, all this can happen. So what you want to do is, it's so hard to prevent it in some ways. What you want to do is explain to your children, what could happen, some of the bad things that basically could happen, because it is dangerous out there, and not saying it ever could or would to your child. If the internet wasn't here, this could still happen in society. It wouldn't happen this way. It would be much slower. Along with the ever-increasing number of children accessing the internet comes the growing number of children at risk to online dangers. 48% of teens use instant messages to say they exchange IMs at least once a day, and that was from 2006, and I'm sure that's going up. Risk involving children are real. Online enticement, access by children to pornography, distribution of child pornography, cyberbullying. Pedophiles and other child exploiters have direct to one-on-one access to children online, especially through the use of blogs and chat rooms. And that's the main thing. Your child's thinking they're talking to another 15-year-old boy or 15-year-old girl, and they can be talking to a 45-year-old man who's a registered child molester somewhere in the United States. It doesn't even have to be in California or in Lancaster. They're carrying on a chat with someone across the nation, and once they get this personal information, and if they can ever arrange a meet with them, that wouldn't be good. Pornography, which is legally restricted to adults, can easily be accessed by children online. The Internet has provided child pornographers a powerful and anonymous distribution vehicle. Child pornography has become a $20 billion international industry. Cyberbullying is becoming an increasing problem at home as well as at schools. While there are other online risks, there are 4 that we focus on in this presentation. Online victimization of youth, 5 years later, 2006. 1 in 7 children, 13% received sexual solicitation or were approached within the last year. 1 in 3, 34%, had an unwanted exposure to pictures of naked people or people having sex. 1 in 11, 9%, was threatened or harassed. 1 in 25, 4%, received an aggressive sexual solicitation. A solicitor who asked to meet them somewhere, called them on the telephone, or sent them regular mail, money, or gifts. Online enticement. Through the use of chat rooms, email, instant messaging, blogs, and even online games, adult strangers can establish direct one-on-one access to children. Distance and children's natural trust can lead them to forget that these people are strangers, and many of them are very good at misrepresenting themselves. There was one guy who kept telling me I was beautiful, sexy, and hot, and that he wanted to meet me. Even though I kept saying no, he kept giving me his pager number and telling me to call him. She was 14 years old. Children make ideal victims because they are naturally curious. They sometimes have a desire to rebel against parents and seek attention and affection. Up here we got a few pictures up there. Here are 2 examples of how easily children can be victimized. 16-year-old Patricia met a 23-year-old man online. The first time the 2 met in real life, they staged an abduction, and an Amber Alert was posted for the child. She was later found in a motel room with the man. He was charged with rape. A 17-year-old female met a 20-year-old man on MySpace. He traveled from California to New York, lived in the bedroom closet for almost 2 weeks before parents discovered him. The 2 ran away together and were later located in Tennessee after a trip was called into the New York Missing and Exploited Children Clearinghouse. You have to explain to your children what can go on. Like you say, you don't want to get the fear into them, but you want to educate them on this. And sometimes doing that, it'll open their eyes, and they'll realize, what's going on out there. I mean, it's a shame that you have to be talking to girls that might be 11, 12, 13, or 14 years old about these subjects, but it's just that day and age that we live in now. While this is popping up here, I saw there was a 13-year-old in England that became a father last week. So what we're used to at our age, each generation, it's getting younger and younger and younger. Again, how many people have teenagers?
If you have a teenager at home, you know they can spend hours chatting online. But do you know who they're chatting with? Well, last month we brought you a Dateline hidden camera investigation into what experts say is a frightening and growing problem. Online sexual predators, adults targeting children. The story got a tremendous response from parents, and now there's some new information about some of the men caught by our cameras. Chris Hansen has a preview of the special hour coming up a week from tonight.
During our investigation, there was a parade of men showing up at this house. 19 in 3 days arrived after making a date online with a person posing as a young teen.
Did you bring beer? No, I think we found to get some on the way.
Once they saw me, some headed for the door. Others stayed, apparently believing I was the child's father or with law enforcement. None of them knew our hidden cameras were recording their every move.
You didn't. How's it going?
Good. How you doing? This man, an Army sergeant, not only tried to entice our decoy into having sex, he wanted to include a dog.
I've never done anything. I'm trying to get help with this.
What are you doing to get help?
See a psychiatrist right now.
Well, it doesn't look like it's working too well based upon all
I
this.
just started talking to him.
And perhaps more shocking than the number of men is who they are. This 54-year-old man is a special education teacher. What is a 54-year-old man doing coming to this home to see a 13-year-old boy?
Obviously meant being sick.
And he wasn't the only one.
Come on in, I just stole Diet Coke all over my shorts.
This 50-year-old is an emergency room doctor here to meet a boy he thinks is 14.
I'll be right back down.
Watch how he tries to follow our decoy upstairs. When I confront the doctor, he says he had no intention of having sex with the boy. He only came here because he felt badly for the teen who was left home alone. What's really going on here?
Some sort of going on was I came over to take him out for lunch.
You ask, have you ever been spanked? He says, by my dad, but not for sex. You say, could it be fun for sex? He says, I can try. You say, wants to spank a dad. Now you see how that looks.
Yeah, so pretty bad.
The doctor, like most of the men who showed up at our house, maintained he was not doing anything wrong.
We'll see.
And then there was this man. So how can I help you? What are you doing?
Not so good. This isn't good.
Not good. That's kind of an understatement, isn't it? What do you do for a living? That's right, a rabbi. We even had a man stripped naked in our garage after our decoy asked him to. Could you explain yourself?
I'm sorry.
The 43-year-old showed up with a 12-pack of beer, thinking he was going to meet a 14-year-old boy. What would have happened, John, if I wasn't here?
I probably shouldn't have, sir.
So what happened next to these men? We told you in our first report that the rabbi resigned and the teacher was fired. On the day our story aired, the doctor's hospital privileges were suspended, and he was also fired. Dateline has learned that this man, who had recently become a U.S. citizen, went back to Egypt. And just this week, the Fairfax County Police brought in for questioning the man who came into our house naked. They also executed a search warrant for evidence in his car and home. They seized a computer and other property.
Next week, the next step in our investigation, new undercover footage, and more about the legal actions underway against some of the men caught by our hidden cameras. That's next Friday on Dateline starting at 8. If you have a teenager at home, you know they can spend hours chatting online. But do you know who they're...
I think most everybody has seen those shows on TV, and it just crosses every boundary of employment that you can think of everybody that shows up. And, you know, you always have a picture in your mind of who's going to be the predator, somebody in a raincoat or whatever the image is of that. But you can see it's just everyday people. If you saw any of these people in the mall or walking around, you would think they are perfectly normal, and probably maybe in every other aspect of their life they are, as far as the positions that
Your cell phone bill is what's up. All this texting. OMG, IMBD. It is a big deal. Who are you texting?
And it shows you, it shows you the whole different generation. And that's something that everybody is trying to fight and figure out how to combat this, because you can be the best parent at home and do everything right at home and have the computer there and the locks on it and everything, but if your child is out of your sight at a friend's house and they don't have that and they have access to the internet and they get talked into getting a profile on MySpace or logging on, and you can see how quickly information, and if they give out information, how quickly other people can get information.
Your cell phone bill is what's up.
A few little technical problems tonight. We weren't able to use our portable mics and everything. That's why we're reading from here, because we have to be by the mic. Usually we're not trying to ignore anybody. Usually we'll read from the PowerPoint presentation, but we're using this mic here tonight and having a couple little technical difficulties. We'll get in, before Jim continues with the next part, cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is just using the internet, cell phones or whatever, to bully people. Bullying's been around forever. It will be. To give you some ideas, if I was going to fight Jim, 25 years ago in high school, by the end of the day, everybody knew we were going to meet at the park with a flagpole, and it just took time to get around. But if we were going to fight, something was going to go on, bullying, it happened. It just happened much slower. Now, with cell phones, with the internet, one person can contact 30 people just like that. And, instantaneous. And on weekends, too. Before, if you were home on a weekend, you'd have to walk to a friend's house or get on the phone, and you couldn't get to stuff. But now, with one push of a button, you might be able to contact 30 friends to be somewhere in 15 minutes to conduct some type of bullying on another student or a relative or a friend like that. So it's around, but with this technology, everything happens, as you can see, just so quick. You see how much information they were able to gain so quickly on this female that was chatting in the room. With bullying, some of the signs of bullying, and it's not just cyberbullying, but it goes back to your children, anything that might be going on at school, but these are some of the signs to look out for.
Your cell phone bill is what's up. All this texting. OMG, IMDb. It is a big deal. Who are you texting 50 times a day?
Okay, my BFF Joe.
Tell your BFF Joe.
Yeah, did everybody understand that? Yeah, if you got kids, you're catching on to it. And same thing, we will catch on to it, but it just takes a while. But the little ones, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, they know about the internet. They know about, how to log on, how to get different areas and everything. So, if your child doesn't want to go to school, begs to be driven to school, changes their usual routine, is unwilling to go to school, phobic of school, becomes withdrawn, anxious, or lacking in confidence, starts stammering, attempts or threatens suicide or runs away, cries themselves to sleep at night or has nightmares, feels ill in the morning, begins to do poorly in schoolwork, comes home with clothes torn or damaged books, has possessions ending up missing, asks for money or starts stealing money to pay a bully, has dinner of other monies constantly lost, has unexplained cuts or bruises, comes home starving, money and lunch money has been stolen, becomes aggressive, disruptive, or unreasonable, is bullying other children or siblings because they're getting bullied at school, stops eating, is frightened to say what's wrong, gives improbable excuses for any of the above. Well, if you've been a parent and you've got kids, you probably run into this on numerous stuff, and it might not be cyberbullying or even bullying, but when your child has a problem, the main thing is to try to find out what the problem is. And I know from having kids myself that can be very hard, but whatever it takes, if it needs a friend to drop by, a relative, another peer to find out what's going on, but if something's eating at your children, you've got to find out kind of what's going on so you can find out a way to help them. So whatever it takes, if they don't want to talk to mom and dad, if they'll talk to a sister, relative, just try to get information. And I know it's hard, and I know sometimes you can try for a couple days to get information out of the children, and they just, we've all been there as kids. You think back on your school experiences. How many people here in school ever got bullied by anybody? Yeah, it's just, it happens, and you wind up going into a shell, you wind up coming up with excuses, whatever you were doing at school, you stop doing that because you want to avoid the bully, you don't go to that area, you might not eat lunch, you might not want to take the bus home, you run home, we all go through it and everything, but with the cyberbullying, it just takes it to another extreme as far as how quickly they can do it. We went to some training in Santa Monica the other day, and Santa Monica had produced a film showing how quickly it happened. And it all started with a science class, and one girl wanted to date one boy, and at the last minute, this other girl became the partner in the science class, so the other girl got upset and then right away started texting friends that she's going to get even, and started posting stuff online that this other girl was a pig and oink oink, and then all the friends started sending emails to this one girl, and just, within a matter of minutes it started, and it was heavy, not like even at school years ago where it takes time to develop or whatever. Wound up setting up a meet at a park. Just me and you, we'll meet, we'll discuss this. Well, wound up it was all the one girl's friends and not the other ones. And that's something to explain to your children, hey, if somebody wants to meet you at a park, that might not be a good idea. Don't go anywhere isolated, because somebody will say meet one-on-one, but then the other person shows up with all their friends. Meet somewhere where there's other people around, so stuff like that won't happen as far as bullying, that bad if they're in public. Try to meet at a public place, or try to see if you can talk to your children to do it somewhere where you can be present also, so it's not going to be maybe in a distance, but protect your children that way. We back up and running, Jim?
We're getting there.
Hey, technology is great. You batting?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Apologize for that. Okay, chat rooms. Chat rooms are places on the internet where you can have live, real-time conversations with many people at the same time. Everyone in the chat room can see what everyone else writes, but you still can be as anonymous as you want. While chat rooms can be dynamic meeting places for people with similar interests, children can easily be misled to do things that they ordinarily would not do. It is easy for a child to reveal more, sometimes much more, than they should. They are cruising grounds for predators. If a person unknown to you was speaking to your child, and I think Craig mentioned this earlier, in your front yard, what would you do? If your child was communicating with the same stranger online, what would you do? Again, a 40-year-old man in the front yard with your 13-year-old daughter, you're going to respond to that. You see them chatting online, you're assuming they're chatting with somebody their own age, not a 40-year-old man. Instant messaging, and a lot of you may not be familiar with IM or instant messaging, but that's done on the cell phone. It's a form of internet communication that combines the live nature of real-time chat with the personal contact of email. The benefits include a safer environment than chat rooms, since contact lists can be better controlled. Instant messaging software allows users to create a detailed personal profile including name, email address, age, home address, phone number, school, and hobbies. If children aren't careful during the sign-up process, they can reveal more than they should. Easily accessible profiles can allow anyone to contact them. Some IM programs offer users the option of joining in chats with strangers. The reach of an IM can encourage gossiping and bullying. A little bit about what Craig was mentioning about the girl that we heard about. Children can receive pornographic spam through instant messaging. Social networking sites, Dateline aired a story, and I'm not going to go to the video because every time I go to the video we're losing it. So we'll go to a video at the end of the PowerPoint presentation, okay? But Dateline NBC aired a story on a popular social network, MySpace, and it's one of the most popular out there. While MySpace is only one of the many social network sites, the video provides you with a good overview of what these sites are and the dangers there are to children. But we're going to skip over that for right now. Social networking sites have become a significant part of children's lives. While young children should not use social networking sites, teens are going to use them. This is why it's so important for them to be taught how to safely use these sites. Other ones are Friendster, Bebop, Facebook, and many others. You hear about blogging. A blog is basically a journal that is available on the web. The term is shortened from web blog. Blogs are typically updated daily using software that allows people with little or no technical background to maintain the blog. Postings on a blog are almost always arranged in a chronological order, with most recent editions featured most predominantly. Blogs usually include profile, text, photographs, and links between friends and interests, and may include video or audio files. In October of 2007, MySpace had 204 million users, making it the top-ranked internet site. We're estimating now in 2009 it's probably in the 500 million range. Here's an example of a young girl's MySpace webpage. Olivia writes in her profile that she's 18, but in her first post she admits she's really only 14 years old. This is a common practice for children on social network sites. So they go in with a different age, and then it turns out they're 18. They're not telling the truth either. Blog profiles can reveal a lot. Children and adults as well are putting a great deal of personal information in their profiles. This young woman had so much personal information listed in her profile, it would take several more slides to show it all to you. And if you can read some of it, it's tough to read, but it's got, her name, her likes, her dislikes, the kind of guys she's looking for, you name it, the information's in there. Blog entries can reveal even more. On this slide, we see how easy it is to search these social network sites. Searching by the interest of making love would allow someone to find this high school girl because she listed making love as one of her interests. Children are listing intimate details of their lives in their blog entries. You can see how this entry in livejournal.com includes all the details that happened to this teen over the weekend, including her girlfriend smoking and stealing clothes. And it goes on to read on the right-hand side, this was a crazy weekend. Valletta smoked up in the bathroom. I love my girl. Crazy Albany driving. Spending too much money on books. Smoking way too much. Seeing people die. Diarrhea. Quality time with my Stephanie. Falling in love with a woman. Lots of love. Buying the coolest camera. Shocking everything. Or shooting everything. Donuts in Kohl's parking lot. Stealing clothing. That's only what I can remember. Again, all the crazy things that she's been doing, and they brag about it when they get online. Children think they're making friends, but they really don't know who these strangers are. Services usually allow users to easily connect with friends and their friends, strangers having similar interests, even by schools attended. In a school, you can't just walk up to a random person and say, hey, do you want to be my friend? But they do it on the internet. These are examples of Olivia's friends. Here's an example of someone that is on Olivia's friend list. In the top right corner is a man who she has displayed his name as Batman Undead. Olivia can also link to his friends and his friends' friends. Remember, Olivia is only 14 years old. Do these look like friends you would want your 14-year-old to have? And I don't know how well you can see the pictures, but you look the one in the middle, he's all face painted and hair up. And then the one in the corner, they're real goth-looking, very bizarre-looking folks. I wouldn't want my 14-year-old daughter, chatting with these guys. And then the ultimate survey. Here we have an example of a survey from MySpace. Surveys are very common, but as you can see, teens are providing way too much personal information. This survey was completed by a 13-year-old girl who claimed to be 19 in her profile, but added that she was really 13. Even though children may not give truthful answers to the survey, it opens the door for a predator to begin a conversation. It asks for their likes and their dislikes. Goes to the next page, it says, do you want to lose your virginity? Or when do you want to lose it? She says at 16. Goes to the next one, it says, have you ever tried to strip when drunk? She says, yeah. Again, she's 13. It asks about her lover, preferred eye color, hair color, dirty blonde, short hair, taller than me, a preferred weight, personality. Again, here's a guy reads all this information, and then he can pose as the ideal man and say, I meet all the criteria that you're looking for, and convince them that they are the ones that they want to meet up with. On this page, 14-year-old Kara Borden met 18-year-old David Ludwig on MySpace. The two established an online relationship that led to Kara sneaking out of her house during the night to meet him. When Kara's parents caught her sneaking back in the house, they insisted that Kara end the relationship. They also insisted upon meeting Ludwig to tell him this also. When Ludwig showed up at the house, he shot and killed both Kara's parents as Kara looked on. These instances are rare, but it's important to recognize that they can happen and that online contacts are not necessarily friends, but in fact, they can be dangerous. Video networking, 65,000 clips are uploaded daily. 100 million clips are viewed daily. In the summer of 2006, the fastest growing website was MySpace. 44% female and 56% were male. The age group was 12 to 17. Video networking has become very popular. It is important for parents to be aware of what videos their children are viewing and posting online.
And Jim, on that last one, that was YouTube?
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, MySpace.
YouTube outpaced MySpace. Okay, video networking. What should you know? Registration is almost always free, so kids can register onto it if they have access. Okay, identity verification is not always required to become a member. Children can access adult material. Graphic and explicit videos, pornography, violence, and pedophilia, and cyberbullying and internet predators. Children can view extremely violent and graphic videos such as beheading of Iraq, Saddam's execution, or even after-school fights between children. And that's one of the things that is a hot ticket now, and you see it on a lot of the different websites and some of the, what's the latest one? They show videos, they view themselves fighting out in the street. Kids will get together, they'll get surrounded by 40 other kids, and they'll have it on video as they beat each other up, and then that's put on MySpace or one of these other internet sites. And this is entertainment. Access by children to pornography. Pornography, which is legally restricted to adults, can be easily accessed by children online. A child who can't browse through a sexually explicit magazine in a store can easily view explicit images and video online. Also, obscene materials, which are legal or illegal even for adults, can be easily accessed online. The average age of children who are first viewing pornography on the internet is 11 years old. 90% of children ages 8 to 16 have viewed porn online, many while doing their homework. And it has the top 10 reviews, internet pornography statistics. Unintentional is one way that they do it. Even innocent websites addresses can lead directly to pornography. Here you've got www.teens.com or www.fun.com. This 14-year-old girl makes a statement, it's like a car crash. You want to look away, but you can't. And again, they look innocent, and they log on to these, and they have porn sites pop up. The URL, Uniform Resource Locators, the correct one can take you to a sexually explicit site. Assumptions, you're certain that you know the URL, and the URL is the .com or the .org when you log on. Mistakenly using the wrong URL or the ending, the .com or the .org, or you have a spelling, you transpose numbers or you transpose letters when you're logging on, it can lead you into sites that you don't want to be at. It shows here www.nsync.com is where they wanted to go, and if they put in .org, it went to an adult link. We also have unsolicited push pornography and email links that are very prevalent, are sent to everyone, including children. And these are the pop-ups that you get on your computer. You'll be on there, you'll download something, they tap into your line somehow, you get pop-ups on your computer, and you've got a porn site. So a kid may be doing his homework, he may be scrolling or surfing the internet, and all of a sudden something pops up. Keyword searches. Children using search engines to locate legitimate information can receive links to pornographic sites. There are 26 children characters, including Pokemon, Action Man, which are linked to thousands of pornographic sites. So again, if you look at this, you've got Disney Toons, you've got Free Lotus, all this stuff that little virgins, again, You transpose a letter here or there, and the next thing you know, you're on one of these sites. And kids are doing it all the time. Intentional, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Curiosity in children is natural, but learning about sex online is usually not the best place to do it. I think most of us will agree with that. Distribution of child pornography. The Internet has provided child pornographers with a powerful and anonymous distribution vehicle. Possession and distribution of child pornography is illegal under state and federal laws. There are many websites that offer child pornography. Keep in mind, most is traded or sold through non-public enterprises, emails, etc. Okay, again, this is I'm not going to go to the video because I'm going to lose everything if I do. This is a young man, Justin, and basically his story, he got involved in sending pictures of himself to friends on the Internet. And these friends were requesting that he do different things online, remove his clothing, and so on and so forth. It turned out that he was blackmailed, and he in turn started blackmailing other people that were sending him information. And he ended up going to jail for it because it's illegal to put pornographic pictures of yourself online as well as send them to other people. So that's the gist of his story. Cyberbullying. Any device, anytime. Cyberbullying has rapidly become a problem that is difficult to deal with. Technology now allows for bullying at any time, any place. It's not just the playground. It's not after school on the corner, as Craig was talking about, where word gets out that we're going to meet and we're going to have a fist fight. They can send it instantly and gather up a bunch of people, and it causes a lot of issues and problems. There are several ways that children threaten or harass others online. They may send emails or instant messages containing insults or threats directly to a person. They spread hurtful comments about a person to others through email, instant messaging, or posting on websites and blogs. They steal passwords and send out threatening emails or instant messages using an assumed identity. 1/3 of online teens reported writing a comment in instant message that they wouldn't say to someone's face. Again, it allows you to be anonymous and do things that you wouldn't necessarily do if you're face-to-face with somebody. Building websites, often with password protection, to target people, students, or even teachers. Increasingly, kids are being bullied by text messages sent through their cell phones. Built-in digital cameras in cell phones have added a new dimension to the problem. There have been instances of children taking pictures of classmates in the locker room shower and distributing the photo throughout the school. A kid from school sent me a message on the internet saying, "Hey Dave, look at this website," says David. I went there, and sure enough, there was my photo on the website saying, "Welcome to the website that makes fun of Dave." And just pages of hateful comments directed at me and everyone in my family. Consequences of cyberbullying. These 6 pictures show kids that committed suicide after being bullied at school, or bullied on the internet or through instant messaging. You know, beautiful young kids with their life ahead of them, and they took their own lives because they were convinced that there was something wrong with them from what people were saying. No one's immune, including teachers. They have RateMyTeacher.com, which is supposed to be a tool to help teachers become better teachers. But unfortunately, some of the comments that are on RateMyTeacher.com can be complimentary, but some can be very brutal. This site has an area for parents to make comments as well as students. But the teachers are setting themselves up with this site, and they end up getting, attacked in a lot of different ways, where you wouldn't walk up to your teacher and say these things, but anonymously online, you'll go ahead and tell them what you really think Dealing with cyberbullying, preserve the evidence. This is critical for identifying the bully and making a case. Attempt to enlist assistance from the service provider. If able to identify the bully, contact him or her and or their parents. Use available blocking technology, i.e. block the user on IM and email and chat. In serious cases, seek assistance from police. Threats of physical harm, unrelenting or unable to stop. So if you're being bullied, you need to let somebody know. If it continues and it gets to the point where it's really just happening constantly every day, you've got multiple people doing it, it's getting very vicious, they're making direct threats against you, you need to call the sheriff's department, you need to report it, okay? It is a felony to do that. So what should parents do? Pulling the plug on the computer? That's one answer, but probably not the most rational way to go. Teaching children rules and proper etiquette is what's important. Learn about hardware, software, and terminology. Misuse and risk. The tools, i.e. the filtering software, the browser settings, and reliable websites. You can limit the websites that your kids can access. You can say, okay, these sites are reliable sites, these are good sites for you to go on, you can allow access to them, and you can block access to other sites. Try to understand their needs, interest, and curiosity. Be trusting, set reasonable expectations, be specific about expectations. As I said, acceptable websites and the use of chat rooms and buddies, divulging personal information, and put time limits on the amount of time your kids spend on the internet. Ensure that your expectations are respected and take appropriate action if they are not. You want to learn everything you can about computers and the internet and the related technology. Develop and maintain proficiency through use, and ask your children to demonstrate how much they know and how well they can use the internet. And communicate with your children. Take time to discuss concerns, agree on ground rules, understand their needs, set reasonable expectations, as I said. Place the computer in a well-trafficked area, not in a children's bedroom or secluded place. It should be in the main room, whether it's the family room or the kitchen area where people are around all the time. Ensure that they do not divulge detailed personal information when completing profiles, and minimize dissemination. So you don't want them divulging a lot of information, and you don't want them sending it out to everyone. They may have an email list or a address book. You can send it to everyone in your address book. You don't want to do that. You want to avoid doing that. If you're going to send in messages out, send them to one person at a time. Don't blanket send them out. Keep all accounts in your name, not your kids' names. Know your children's password and screen name. Ensure that the screen names do not provide information about his or her identity, like Sarah Sweet 16. Okay, it's very important to keep accounts in your name, not your child's. Time is critical in the case of a missing child. If accounts are in your child's name, police are required to obtain a subpoena to access that account, even though the account's in your own home. Consider the use of internet management software. Age-based access levels allows for various levels of access for different family members. Filtering and blocking of incoming and outgoing, time restrictions, and activity logs. Parents can view logs that list websites visited, websites blocked, chat sessions. Software can even be captured, screenshots and email messages if you are to you if a rule is violated. So they can send you information. You can set up things where you will be notified if the rules are broken. Okay? Girls are aware of varied dangers of internet, but want more proactive involvement rather than prohibitive don'ts from parents. So they're going to try and get the approval on the internet that they don't get from the parents. Okay, monitoring software. There's a lot of different monitoring software that you can purchase. Canine Web Protection is one. We've got a few others that I don't know if you mentioned them earlier or not. There's GetNetWise is one that you can get that gives you pretty good information. Even MySpace. MySpace has a MySpace safety page, and in that page you can set up and delete profiles. You can find out about cyberbullying. There's tips for parents, tools and downloads, and talking to teens about safe internet use. So even these internet sites provide some information for parents and adults to help your kids understand the proper use. Okay. Periodically, you need to review internet bookmarks, history files, temporary internet files, and keyword searches. Also, what can it mean if history, keyword, or temporary internet files are cleared? So everything that you do on your computer will show up in the history of the computer. You can go and see where your kids have been, what sites, what they've done, but they can also go in and erase those history sites. So if you're going to check on your kids and you find that there's no history there, well, that's an indication that something's going on. So the kids may be going on to places they know they're not supposed to be, and then they erase it. So you can't come back later and find it. Again, the history, you can go on, this is basically a web page, and you go on and you go under View and Explorer bar and hit History. And I'm not going to go in and try and explain how to do it. You need to contact somebody that's computer literate, or maybe one of the educators, maybe even take an internet class to learn how to do all these different things. But there's ways to understand it and to get through the internet. You can set parental controls. The internet users have the options of setting parental controls. Some don't, but Internet Explorer does, and that's probably the most popular one. Most of you have Internet Explorer of some, whether it's 6, 7, 8, 9 now, I guess. Now this is a temporary internet file, and that's what you'll get to, and it'll show you all the different internet sites that were hit in the file. So you can bring this up and look at all these different sites. It'll tell you what day, what time, and how long they were on these different sites. On Internet Explorer 7, you can go to Internet Options and go to Settings, and you can view the files in temporary internet files and history settings, and you can put blocks on them. This is the one that kept popping up earlier, and you've probably seen it on TV, and it's BFF Jill, Best Friend Forever. Well, she gets the phone bill, and it shows that the little girl has been on the internet or texting. You know, who have you texted all these times? And she says, I'm texting my BFF. And she says, 1,600 texts or whatever it was on there. And the girl says, oh, it's no big deal. And she says, yeah, it's a big deal. She's got to pay for all of these. So they're trying to talk the speak back and forth, the mom to the daughter. It's kind of humorous, but you'll see it on TV if you haven't seen it already. Blogs, instant messaging, chat rooms, email, what is reasonable? Okay? If you're under the age of 8, children should not be using instant messaging, chat rooms, or blogs, period. Under 8, it's just too young. I guess if the adult is there with them and you're surfing the internet and you know what you're doing, then that's fine, but to allow them to do it on their own. Email should be restricted to only approved senders. So if they have email, maybe grandma and grandpa want to send emails to them, or maybe they've got cousins or whatnot, and so restrict the emails that come to the kids. Okay? 8 to 10 years old, if you add instant messaging or chat, make sure only pre-approved senders can send to your child, no blogs. 10 to 12, give them more privacy as long as it's with people you trust. Block all but pre-approved senders. Still, no blogs. You want to stay away from the blogs for the young kids. 13 to 15, again, they're gaining a little independence. You want to respect their privacy. Give them a little more, give them more leeway regarding instant messaging and email, chats and blogs, but check the account for everyone in real life, on their buddy list, no friends of friends. As we had said earlier, you had those goth-looking people that were friends of friends. You probably don't want your kids talking to those people. 16 and over, parental involvement becomes difficult at best, because if they're not at home, they may have a cell phone that has email access. They can go to a friend's house. They can go to the library. They can go to school. And now most of the computers at the schools are blocked. You can't access a lot of things from them, but sometimes there's ways around it. Okay. If they have good judgment and communication, let's see. It becomes difficult at best. If good judgment and communication have not been firmly established by now, all bets are off. So basically, if you can't trust your kid, then forget it. Don't give them access. If they've earned your trust, then go ahead and give it to them. If not, unplug the computer and take it away. Take away their cell phone and interactive gaming devices. And that's something you mentioned earlier, the Wii and some of the different game devices. They're not just games. You can actually go on the internet with those. Warning signs. Elevate concern if your child significantly increases their online time, receives phone calls, emails, mail, or packages from someone you don't know, quickly exits IM, chat, email, Webster, or other activities when you are near. So if you come walking in the room and all of a sudden they click off, something to think about. If they increase the use of slang words, inappropriate sexual knowledge, and withdraws from family and friends. If they begin using new screen names, an online account belonging to someone else, etc. If they're reluctant to discuss activities or your concerns. Again, these are just warning signs. Always keep in mind, the good really does outweigh the bad. Even though we've talked about a lot of negative aspects of the internet, it is important to remember there are many good websites. The internet is a great educational and communication tool. It is up to us as parents, teachers, and law enforcement to show children how to find the good things and avoid the bad. One way to teach them how to be safer online is to teach them the 4 R's. Recognize techniques used by online predators to deceive their victims. Refuse requests for personal information. Respond assertively if you are ever in an uncomfortable situation while online. Exit the program, log off, or turn off the computer. And report to a parent or other trusted adult any suspicious or dangerous contact that makes you feel uncomfortable. And this is pretty simple, but kids tend to not want to do this. They don't want to tell you about what's going on. Now, this information was all put together by the State of New York Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, and I want to thank them for this information that I got off the internet. New York State, and we have a lot of this. We have California for exploited children. And this is just talking about the people that put this slideshow together. And that's about it for the slideshow.
You want to try to pop up those videos that we
Yeah, I can try and get a video in there.
While he's popping up these videos here, any questions on as far as the internet stuff we just went over? There'll be a few other things we're going to cover besides the internet and bullying. Any comments, questions? Yes?
Question on, was mentioned the couch listening, or else it could be after this.
Correct. Say your child went missing and the law enforcement wanted to come in and access that file. They might have to get a subpoena to access it because it's in their name rather than your name. So keep everything in your name. Correct. Right. And we've heard, doing this, we've heard a lot of stories over the past few days. Like I said,
For the last several months, we've been investigating and reporting on computer sex predators, grown men looking to meet underage teens in internet chat rooms. As part of the investigation, we caught the arrest of this Southern California man allegedly trying to meet a 13-year-old girl on MySpace.com. It's a wildly popular website where teens can find each other and sometimes find trouble. You may never have heard of MySpace.com, but it's a safe bet your kids have. Here's Rob Stafford.
They're called social networking sites, sort of a cyber combination of a yearbook, personal diary, and social club. The biggest is MySpace.com. With more than 50 million members, it's one of the fastest growing websites in the country.
Everyone has a MySpace and everyone wants a MySpace.
It's free, easy to join, and easy to message its members. Kids chat about everything from school to sports to fundraisers for Katrina victims. It all seems like innocent fun, and it can be. But many parents and teens are unaware there are hidden dangers.
I honestly just thought it was my friends looking at it.
Which is why Shannon Sullivan disclosed so much on her space.
I put my name,
Did you put your address?
put my address.
Where you go to school?
Yes,
So everything about how to find Shannon was on that site.
everything.
Were you worried about doing that?
I didn't think twice about it.
Shannon did think twice about something else. The rules on MySpace say you're supposed to be at least 14.
How old did you say you were?
I think it was 18.
You think it was 18?
I was 13 at the time.
13?
Yeah.
I was just very upset. Somebody looking for a kid could find a kid very easily.
I get a report emailed to me every day that tells me what website she visited.
Shannon's mother, Margaret, happens to run the computer system at a private grammar school. She has parental controls on her home computer, and several months ago, MySpace popped up.
Ever heard of it?
No.
She was stunned by what Shannon revealed and found the sites of other kids far more revealing.
I found all kinds of pictures of kids in revealing positions, pictures of kids scantily dressed.
It's a cyber secret teenagers keep from tech-challenged parents, not as savvy as Margaret. A world where the kids next door can play any role they want, but may not realize everyone with internet access, including sexual predators, can see the pictures and personal information they post. When Dateline surfed MySpace, we found scenes of binge drinking, apparent drug use, teens posing in underwear, and other members simulating sex, and in some cases, even having it. We also found less provocative pages like Shannon's was, but potentially even more dangerous. Teens listed not only their names and addresses, but even cell phone numbers and their after-school schedules.
One-stop shopping for sexual predators, and they can shop by catalog.
Internet lawyer Perry Aftab started the website wiredsafety.org, and her safety tips appear on MySpace.com.
Do parents have any idea what some kids are posting on these sites?
Parents are clueless. They're caught like deer in the headlights.
Aftab educates parents and kids about the dangers lurking on the web.
Pedophiles are using all of the social networking sites and every other anonymous internet technology to find kids, and social networking sites are where kids are.
Aftab says even kids who don't list their name and address can provide enough personal information, such as the kinds of bands and boys they love, for pedophiles to use to con their way into their lives.
If someone knows you like pina coladas and walks in the rain, it's very easy online to be exactly what it is you're looking for, to be your soulmate.
Who happens to be a 40-year-old predator?
Absolutely. The teens just don't get it. To them, they're talking to a computer monitor. They're playing in an area where they don't recognize the consequences.
In the last month, authorities have charged at least 3 men with sexually assaulting teenagers they found through MySpace.com. And just this week, police found a missing 15-year-old girl who investigators say was sexually assaulted by a 26-year-old man she met through the site. MySpace members are now warning each other about the danger of sharing information online. AFTAB says parents need to find out what their kids are sharing.
Say to your kids, I'd like to see your profile page tomorrow. It's important that you give them a day to clean up their page. That'll be the last time you give them warning.
Then AFTAB says, look at their site. Are the pictures provocative? Their profiles too detailed? Who are they talking to? And perhaps most important, have they kept their profiles private, protected by a password to keep strangers out?
MySpace would not agree to an on-camera interview, but did tell Dateline via email that it prohibits posting personal information and has a team that searches for and removes both underage users and offensive material. MySpace said it does not pre-screen the content of its more than 50 million members, but encourages all of them to exercise caution.
This is what I'm happy about, that most of them are on private now.
Shannon Sullivan's safety lesson came from her mom, who grounded her from the internet for 2 weeks.
And 6 months ago, you had no idea this was a danger.
6 months ago, I thought it was just another place I can go on the computer.
And you were 18 back then.
This is inappropriate.
Ma, that is funny saying.
It's funny, but inappropriate.
Her mother, Margaret, did something AFTAB says too many parents are afraid to do. Take control of their child's computer.
They're afraid of their kids. They somehow think because technology's involved, they're no longer the parent. Get real. You're the parent. If you don't like it, unplug the computer. They don't follow your rules. No internet at all. If you're not the parent and if you're not going to step in, no website on earth is going to be able to help your child be safe.
For more tips on internet safety, including an online safety contract for kids and parents, log on to our website. The address is dateline.msnbc.com. For the last several months, we've been investigating and reporting on computer sex predators, grown men looking to meet underage teens in internet chat rooms. As part of the investigation, we caught the arrest of this.
The primary presentation is going to be on internet safety. We could talk for days as far as kids' safety. Some of the other things, while Jim's, we have one more or two more? Or okay. A couple of the other concerns we wanted to bring up also was firearms in the house. If you do have a firearm in the house, keep it unloaded, keep it in a safe. I understand the reasoning for protection, but if you're not home and that's accessible, and maybe you've taught your child all about firearms and the safety of firearms, but another child comes into the house, sees the firearm, and the first thing kids want to do, 10 to 15, is pick it up and squeeze the trigger. And it happens, and it could be deadly. So keep your firearm away. Teach your children about it. If you have a firearm in the house, teach them the safety aspect of it. It's a good idea to teach. Even if you're not in favor of firearms, that's fine. That's a personal choice. But teach your children about the basic operations of firearms or what they shouldn't do. A prime example was a person in law enforcement, hot summer day, soccer game, had a weapon in his waistband, got into the car. His family knew about firearms. His kids knew about firearms. He took the firearm off and put it on the seat next to the center console, stuffed it in there because he was driving for a while and didn't want it pressing in there. His kid and another kid got in the back seat. The other kid that was visiting sat right behind the driver, the law enforcement officer. He saw this weapon, he pulled it out and squeezed the trigger and cranked it around right into the air conditioning unit, just because he didn't know about firearms. It's something you want to educate your children on as far as the safety aspect. Even however you decide to do this by gaining information from the internet, you can call the Public Safety Office at 723-6063. We can advise. You can call the LA County Sheriff's Department Lancaster Station at 948-8466. They can advise you also. But it's something, like I said, it's a personal choice. If you don't want firearms, that's fine. But what if your child you don't want firearms, your child finds a firearm and picks it up without thinking and squeezes around and injures themselves or someone else. It's, child safety. It's just like we teach children about knives. You don't run with scissors. You don't have a knife up when you're running down the hallway. It's the same thing with firearms. What do? Do you tell your friends, don't touch it? Do you leave it where you find it? Don't pick it up. Don't, let them know that any firearm, whether it appears unloaded, could possibly be loaded. Just educate them. If you need any assistance, please contact the LA County Sheriff's Department or the Public Safety Office on that. As far as one other little thing, as far as little ones, if you've got little ones or you've got grandkids, keep an eye on them. Don't let them out of your sight. I've seen people running around with leashes on kids years ago. That was one of the popular things to do to keep track of them. Fortunately, I've never lost one of mine. But you get that panic feeling if you ever are in the store and they're right there, right next to you, hanging on, and you turn around for that split second and they're gone. You have that panic feeling. But when they're little, I can't express the importance of, keeping an eye on them, physical contact right there. Let them know what to do even at a young age if they get lost. Me and Deputy Montes de Oca went over to give a class on stranger danger and safety, and it was amazing how many kids who were 4 and 5 years old knew their name, and it's okay, what's your name? What's your mom and dad's name? Mom and dad. What's your last name? Don't know. What's your phone number? Don't know. And even at a young age, if they get lost, if they know their last name, if they can come up with a phone number, that's very important. So just, another aspect of that. And going along with the internet stuff, this makes, kids getting on there, putting out personal information. Basically, you don't want other people to know personal information about your family, whether it's identity theft or the kids. One of the things, and a lot of people are guilty of this, probably me in the past too, your student becomes student of the month. You slap that on the bumper sticker, you're proud, they're proud. If somebody's watching the house or watching your children, they know that they go to this school. Then people put in their back window, mom, dad, Bob, Jill, and everything. They show the ages going down, the dog's name. It's cute, like it, but when you really think about it, sometimes somebody driving behind you that might not have the best intentions can look and figure, okay, there's a little boy or a little girl, and his name's Bob or Sally, and their dog name is Spot, and they go to this school over here. Think how much information you're giving to people that might be driving by your house or behind you in traffic as you're going into a market or whatever like that. It's just something to think about. You might want to keep it on there. Maybe it's a good thing, but it's just something also to think about as far as giving out personal information. But just, on the little ones, watch them like a hawk, and if you need any information as far as educating, kids on firearms, please contact the Sheriff's Department or give us a call, and we'll refer you to the Sheriff's Department or someone that can do that. So, any questions on anything Yes?
This isn't on anything we've covered, but my daughter became her computer, and I like to play around on it, and I go every once in a while and check the governor's, the state attorney general, Megan's Law list.
Correct. Megan's Law, yes.
And I know that you guys are working real hard to get rid of games and everything like that. Are you doing anything to try and get rid of the over-abundance? And I have gone in, I've gone different centers, like Glendale, and we've got times 20.
Correct. The city is actively working on that, and so is the Sheriff's Department. One of the things that was happening for a while was a lot of parolees were being dumped up here in the valley, and that's being stopped now. A lot of the conditions with parole, maybe they had to be paroled 45 miles from where they committed the crime in LA County. So if it was down the hill 45 miles away, ought to put them right up here. You can't do that anymore. People have to have long-time ties to the community. Now, if someone lives in the community up here, and they go to jail, now they're getting out on parole, and they have to register under Megan's Law, but they lived up here in the past, they have the right to live up here now. But as far as people just being dropped up here as a dumping ground, that's being shut off from down there, and actually at the prison out here also. They have to have long-time ties, so you'll see that dwindle and go away. But just remember, too, for safety, when you get on there, you can look, and if there's no one within 5 blocks of your house, you have this feeling that, okay, I'm safe. There's no sexual predators within 5 miles of my house. Those are sexual predators that are on parole, that are registered, that are listed there. You could have a sexual predator come in from another state and not register and be living 2 houses down from you. You could have a sexual predator that's never been arrested half these people on TV that we saw, on Dateline there, they didn't get into previous arrest records, but most of those probably weren't registered. This was their first time that they got caught. And I mean, so you have to think about it like, okay, you know where these are, but who else is out there? And that's how you have to think about it. It's like, they could be my next door neighbor, they could be somewhere else. So just watch out for your children, feed them the information that we gave you tonight, try to communicate with them. I know it's very hard to communicate with children, especially when they get to be in the teenage years. Sometimes they know everything, and I think as history goes back, when we were teenagers, our parents probably said the same thing or whatever, right? But it's just getting more explicit. Everything's happening quicker. It's easier to communicate, as you can see. And years ago, like the bullying, it would take longer. Now it's instantaneously. But same thing on everything that's out there. It's a fast-moving society. How many people are computer literate? I mean, really good at, right. And I mean, you can almost see that sometimes the age or whatever like that.
The two youngest people in the audience raise their hand.
When they...
When my grandchildren, they give me all these kind of great tips.
Right.
I have a 5 or 6 page sheet of computer lingo with, BFF and all that instant stuff. Now, I'm listed with my granddaughter to IM, but when I go on, if she's not on, I get a thing that says she's not,
Correct.
she's not listed now, or nobody to receive it, and good night.
Yeah. And as Jim said, I mean, everybody, whatever it is, you want to be educated on this, and you want to take care of your children. So however you want to do it, take a class at the college, or try to get someone over to your house, a daughter, a friend, someone that can sit down with you and get into the computer and show you different things, and give you the lingo and learn all about that, and so you can keep an eye out for your kids. I mean, but prime examples of what can go on out there with the computer. A lot of good stuff. Monitor the kids. If you have young kids and they accidentally get on a site, I would recommend them to, if you have a good rapport with your children, which you should, is if you accidentally get on a site and there's something on there that is inappropriate, tell mom and dad right away. For example, you could be looking at something absolutely normal on the computer and wind up getting a pornographic image. At the last Poppy Festival, we had Bert the Camel come up, and he's a deputy. Bert the Camel came up. So we were doing a flyer. So we wanted a picture of a camel. So I typed in camels. Popped up. Pictures. Had a whole page of pictures. As I'm going through there, they had pictures of naked people on this website mixed in with camels. Just like camel, naked person. And then 20 more camels and a naked person. It's like, and your kid, rapport with your kid, and they're young, let them know, hey, if you run across something, if you type the wrong word in, don't get spooked, don't get panicked, just let me know what's going on, and we'll straighten it out. Another prime example, someone was looking for pearls, and they typed in Asian pearls. They got something completely different than what they thought they were going to get. And all of a sudden, that's on your computer. So, I mean, it can happen mistakenly, but if you have a young child and they're on there and they're doing their homework and they get something up, get that report going. Hey, you get something on there that's bad, just let me know how you got it or what you typed in. And then you can also contact that website to get that off. That website might not even know about it. But just monitor the kids, sneak in over them, look what they're doing. As Jim was saying, if they've erased everything off, it's changing, it's quicker, but we can still monitor them. Years ago, you try to catch kids on the phone, or you'd go into the bedroom, what are you doing, what's going on, and everything. Now you've got the computer to deal with, and it's just happening quicker. But don't assume, because they're on the computer, that they're always doing their homework, or they're always talking to another 14 or 15-year-old. Monitor it, who are you talking to, don't give out this personal information. Just try to educate them as best as you can, get that good rapport with them, and I know sometimes when you get to be teenagers, you lose that sometimes. And if they're not listening to you, find out who they're going to listen to. A friend, a family, an aunt, an uncle, another peer that seems to be okay, and then get as much access to the internet for you so you know what's going on so you can track them. Any other questions on anything? Yes?
There's been information on the news about Facebook, and originally they said, we can use your information for whatever we want, and then there was, I guess, they got a lot of feedback on that. They said, no, we won't do that. Something's worried about that.
To be be honest with you, the past 4 days I've been on the road and been about 400 miles here. I've been to meetings out at Santa Monica and 2 down, and so I haven't had I popped this up as far as the video games, as far as the Wii, that just pop up today on the internet, talking how if you bought your kid a Wii game, through the Wii game they can get to the internet and get porn. So it's the same thing, as you're doing. Monitor the computer, monitor the news, and they usually, information comes at you so quick now. That's how we gather a lot of our information too. We go to training, but lots of times, I'm on the internet, or I'm watching the news, and I get information. It's information, you want to verify it. You want to make sure it isn't just a rumor out there or bad information, so try to verify it. Sometimes maybe the first report isn't the best, but after a few days, they get it down pretty good as far as what's actually going on. But keep constantly, daily, educate yourself by, getting on the internet yourself, seeing what's new on the internet as far as stuff like this, Facebook, different stuff. As far as, I never knew that if somebody had a Wii game, that they were able to access that. If you're in our age group, and everything, technology is coming and it's flying right by us in some ways. It's like when the cell phones first came out, it was like, okay, simple cell phone, I can call somebody, that's great. And it's like, I can send pictures, I can take pictures, I'm on the internet, how do I get there? And it's just like, you need to educate yourself. And if you don't want to take college courses or go to school, have somebody that is knowledgeable on it, friend, neighbor, or whatever, come over and just show you a few of the goodies that are on the phone, a few of the things on the computer, so you can catch up to the kids. Because, like I said, I think it might have been a Super Bowl commercial, but they showed a 4-year-old with a camera, take the pictures, hook it up to the computer, sending it to grandma and she's 4 years old. And how many people, besides you two, can actually do that, take a picture and send it? It's not that hard. I can do it, but it's just something we haven't done our whole lives, so it's something you're learning constantly. But the kids, from the time they're 4, 5, 6, they're in schools, they're on computers, big brother, big sister has computers. The kids that are 4 and 5 are just going to fly by people now, that are 15 or 20, 10 years down the road here. So.
In answer to your question about Facebook, any of these different chat rooms that you sign up for, they have agreements and they have use of privileges. So read the agreements very carefully because they may utilize your information elsewhere, but that would be in the agreement form. They must agree to not distribute or utilize the information you provide in any other manner. So again, read through the agreements before you sign up. Okay. These will change. They will jump you from site to site. So you may sign up for Facebook or one or the others, and while you're on that site, you will get a pop-up message, and you'll think, oh, okay, I'm going to the next section or whatever, and they're actually bumping you to a completely different site. So be very careful about that.
Like, if he's still on, you know what I mean by the application of, like, sending people but their agreement with using like this application is totally different.
Yeah, on different stuff, Facebook, MySpace, check out the agreements you're signing. We'll answer questions down here at the podium. We'll stay as long as anybody needs us and everything. We don't have a portable mic to go out, so we are taping this. So when you're talking to the audience, they won't hear it unless we repeat the whole question, but we're more than happy to stick around. If you have any questions on the presentation, please give us a call at 723-6063. That's the Public Safety Office. We also do the Neighborhood Watch, so if anybody's interested in joining Neighborhood Watch, please give us a call. And if you need to contact the LA County Sheriff's Department, Lancaster Station, the number is 948-8466. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.